So, with the explanation of this hierarchical structure and the analogy of the map, we should be able to understand how counseling works from the selection of the theory down to the skills that are being used in the process of counseling. So, the next thing is to go into explaining the various counseling theories, which are psychoanalytic, behavioral, humanistic, cognitive, and the integrative ones. Then, the first one here is psychoanalytic, which was developed by Sigmund Freud in the 1890s. Sigmund Freud was originally a physiologist, but his contributions towards the psychology field made him a notable figure in the psychological field. So, the Freudian view of human nature is basically deterministic. This means that our behaviors does not just come out of nowhere freely. They are being determined by some underlying forces, which are often unconscious. And in order to look into these unconscious forces, Freud used various components like the structure of personality, the defense mechanism, the psychosocial stages, and so on. So, we'll be looking at the structure of personality, which is the id, ego, and the superego. The id is ID. Then it is the biological component of the personality structure. Then we have the ego, which is the psychological component of the personality structure. Then we have the superego, which is the social component of the psychological of the personality structure. So a practical example, or let's say a relatable example, is for example when someone trusts you very well to help them keep a particular amount of money. Then when the money is with you, a need arises, or you just saw something that you really need to use the money to buy. So the id will be telling you that this money is with you now. It's already with you. Whether it is yours or not, just buy what you want to buy and do what you want to do with it. So that is the political component of it. This is the id. It wants to get satisfied immediately. It doesn't care what is right. It doesn't care what is wrong. It doesn't want to satisfy the need that is on the ground immediately. But psychological component, which is the ego, it will tell you that the money is not for you. Instead of going to use everything, just take small. You can borrow from it, and you know you return it back. That is the ego telling you what to do in a more proper way. But the superego is the best one, the social component, the one that tell you that this money is not for you, and you shouldn't touch it. In fact, even if you want to touch it, at least call the person first and ask. And that is the social component. And this explains the behavior in human being that comes from this structure of personality. The other ones we have is another component we have under psychoanalytic theory is psychosocial stages. So developed by Sigmund Freud too. So Freud believed that personality develops during early childhood, and childhood experiences shape our personality as well as our behaviors, even as adults. He asserted that we develop through a series of stages during childhood, and each of us must pass through these childhood stages. And if we do not have proper nurturing and parenting during a stage, we will be stuck or fixated in this stage. This stage are 6 different stages, and the first one is the oral stage. This is between the moment where the child is being born to 1 year old. So in this stage, the pleasure is focused on the mouth. Eating and the pleasure derived from sucking plays a large part in the baby's first year of life. According to Freud, adults who smokes, drinks, overeat, or bite their nails is fixated in the oral stage of psychosocial development. This implies that when the baby is not, for example, the baby is not well fed enough, when they are sucking breast, the mother does not have the attention they're supposed to, or something leads to the other, the baby could not get well fed enough. They are supposed to get a particular enjoyment from that stage, but they couldn't get it. So while growing up, they'll be fixated at that point. So they're likely to bite their fingers or smoke. They always want to take their hand to their mouth or suck their thumb. So that is the first stage in psychosocial stages. The second one is the anal stage. Children enter the anal stage between 1 to 3 years after passing through the oral stage. In this stage, they experience pleasure in their bowel and bladder movements. So it makes sense that the conflict in this stage is about toilet training. Parents who are very strict in toilet training, when they are training kids to start using the toilet, maybe using the potty or defecating somewhere. So parents that are very strict at this stage, they give the child an experience such that it will prompt them to be overly neat because of the strict nature of their parents. They won't want to mess up. They won't want to do anything anyhow. They won't want the place to be messy or do anything anyhow. But when they are lenient at this stage for their kids, the kids are likely to mess up, to scatter the place. They are not organized, and so on. The next stage on the psychosocial stage is, which is the third one, is the phallic stage. And this stage usually occurs between the age of 3 to 6. It is corresponding to the age when children become aware of their bodies and recognize the difference between both genders. The erogenous zone in this stage is the genitals. At this stage, Freud introduced the concept of Oedipus complex and Electra complex, where Oedipus complex means the boy being attracted towards his mother sexually, and the girl being Electra complex means the girl being attracted to their father sexually. This can be resolved when the child have a clear identification of their parents. That is of the same sex with them, leading to development of the superego. If it is not resolved, it can lead to recklessness or obsession with sexual conquest. For example, a guy that is overly obsessed with ladies. Anytime they see ladies, this sexual desire will just come. They tend to have social attraction towards anybody and everybody anyhow. This means that they are fixated at this phallic stage. The next stage, this is the fourth one, is the latency stage, which usually occurs between the age of 6 to the puberty stage. At this stage, the sexual interest they had in the previous stage, which was the phallic stage, the sexual interest gets repressed, and they now focus on more social pursuits like schools, hobbies, friendship, and every other thing. It is more focused on socialization because they have to relate to people around them, in their family, in their schools, and anywhere they find themselves. So this stage helps them to shape how they relate to people. Some people may have it difficult to relate to people, which results to sexual anxiety, and some people will be friendly and open with everybody. The kind of situation that happens in this stage is either positive one or a negative one that will be able to help them express themselves better when they are in the midst of people, or the one that will make them feel withdrawn to themselves. Then the last stage we have is the genital stage, which is the fifth one. At this stage, the sexual interest that was repressed in the latency stage, it will come back again, but will be channeled towards a more acceptable partner. The one they had in the phallic stage was towards their parents that are of the opposite gender. But at this stage, those sexual interests will be channeled towards a more socially acceptable partner, and they'll be able to form healthy relationship with people and so on. So these components, like the social personality where you have id, ego, and superego, the psychosexual stages that we just finished mentioning, and then the others like dream, defense mechanism, are the things or are the frameworks that psychoanalysts provide us with to look into the unconscious parts of the clients and channeling this knowledge into techniques like dream interpretation, because we believe that dreams are notable and symbolic representation of our unconscious needs. So the unresolved conflicts we have in real life that we are not really mindful of, they will come out as dreams. And when the client narrates the dreams to the counselor, they'll be able to pick out something from there. And we also have free association. The techniques whereby the counselor encourages the clients to express themselves freely. So in the process of expressing themselves freely, they'll be able to purge out things that they are not, that in their conscious mind they will not say it. So they purge out things that they are not really going to say ordinarily. And from this unconscious exhibition of this information, they'll be able to get some things that we'll be able to use in the counseling process. So psychoanalysis theory was also further developed by some other theorists, which brings about psychodynamic theory, and we'll be explaining this later in the integrative aspects of theories.